Welcome. We're meeting the last week of September 2024 to discuss a total solar eclipse on October 2nd. I'm going to try to get this out before the hurricane runoff rains really start to come down. First, a couple of announcements. I'm so happy those who could have joined our last Q&A on the 22nd. I spoke to several dozen people for 5 hours, going very deep into astrology charts, answering questions about EA, and we're going to do it all again this Saturday, the 28th. So check out the link in the video description. This is going to be our first public-facing YouTube Q&A, but I hope to go just as deep, speaking to people about their birth charts, or if there's simply questions about evolutionary astrology, spirituality, or anywhere in between, be sure to join us. Now, October 4th to 6th is our annual Jeffrey Wolf Green Evolutionary Astrology Conference, where I will be presenting on the 12th house. So be sure to join us. I also have a discount code, Timothy10, for a 10% off for the entire conference. So again, we're going to have this conference kicking off October simultaneously with this total solar eclipse. Always exciting times of year. It's like eclipses are the two times of year that astrologers get swarmed. Everyone is forced to believe in astrology via their own experience and the obviousness of it all. Astrologers have their own personal experiences going on simultaneously, and it's a lot before it settles down into the rest of the year. This is because eclipses occurs when there are new or full moons aligned with the moons of the hands of fate, the moon's nodes, the dragon's head and tail. And those in my Q&As, you see how regularly I speak to the moon's nodes, whether that be in any given moment in time or in our own birth chart. These are some of the most important critical placements in anyone's birth chart. We need to understand the evolutionary intentions of the moon's nodes in our life, because that's going to make sense of our whole life. If you check out my astrology school, just check out the lessons on the moon's nodes in your natal chart. That's some of the most useful information you can gain from your chart throughout your life. But this is also why eclipses are particularly powerful, because we have a solar eclipse, which is a new moon, either on the dragon's tail, the south node, or the dragon's head, the north node. And on October 2nd, we have a south nodal eclipse at 10 degrees, the sign of Libra. This eclipse is joined with some prolific asteroids, is also square Mars in Cancer. There's a grand trine in the water element between Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Saturn in Pisces. Venus ruling the south node, Venus ruling the eclipse. Venus will be on her own planetary south node at the moment of these eclipses. And here it's going to start coincidentally coming down. So let's see how much I can get out before my notes run off the page. The fact that this is a south nodal eclipse on the moon's south node, this means we are reflecting on the past. There is an evolutionary direction into the future through a necessary reflecting, through a necessary remembering. And we can bet that this remembering and reflecting can largely be occurring through the mirror of the other, with this solar eclipse taking place in the sign of Libra. The planetary ruler of Libra, Venus, in Scorpio, is giving us an indication of how deep we're going. Deep beneath the surface, to the true, the real, the deeper unconscious motivations between our attractions, our repulsions, why we've had the relationships that we've had. In evolutionary astrology, we know relationships serve a function, and that is evolution. Why are we attracted to the particular souls that we are? We've often had prior lifetimes with them. There's oftentimes a familiarity already there, but not only that, there is a purpose for us being brought back together again. There's lessons that your soul came to learn. There's lessons that my soul came to learn. And there is no greater a place where this learning occurs than through relationship. And certainly the more Scorpio, intimate and deep we go with any particular individual, we are going to meet the Scorpio full spectrum of their nature. Anybody that we love into the deep end, we must learn to love both their shadow and their light And this solar eclipse is going to bring up all the above. Now, as you probably know, the symbol of the scales, Libra, has everything to do with justice. So this necessary reflection on the past, what may be experienced as a near, past life relive. It's like we're just reflecting and reliving on all these connections, all these experiences, all these past times that we've had. We're exploring this overall theme of justice. There is a reevaluation of justice, security, and support. And we'll talk about the theme of the square to Mars and Cancer, because that brings up this overall theme to need to have safe space. And that might be not necessarily served on a silver platter with this Mars squaring the moon's nodes at the time of this eclipse. This is one of the highlighted signatures in this eclipse, is that the safety, the support, the necessary slowness, the safe and familial feeling family or people that sees us for who we are and understands our way of doing things, our way of emotional processing, our way of communication. Do we have that easy, safe feeling, family feeling place? No. This eclipse would create a tension that is exposing this missing need for this most missing and needed medicine, which is emotional intelligence, safety, security, the opportunity to actually be vulnerably ourselves with others who can actually support us for who we are and our unique process. So this time is again a reevaluation of remembering as well as receiving. This can also be a very supportive. And that's the beauty of this grand trine in the water element, is this can be, as I mentioned, very deep support. Like people that we can really get along with on a soul level, people who share our sensitivities, our perspectives, our ideals. This is also, as I'll get into later on in this video, now through 2025 is this massive transformation of what we even consider the meaning of our lives, how that plays out in our roles and responsibilities to society, what it is that we may even consider successful or achieving in regards to our relationship to the world and or job. So this is a time where we can actually be receiving this deeper support. Yeah, let's get this creative agenda together. Yeah, let's get evolutionary astrology out to more people. This is a soul medicine. This is people helping people with their deeper, much more complex dynamics and relationships and with family. And we need to get to that depth. We need to get to that level of being able to generate change, of being able to measure how we are catalyzing and inspiring change in our lives and the world. This grand trinity between Venus, Mars, and Saturn is the opportunity to form actual soul unions, Venus, Mars, that are supportive in us being ourselves, because boy, that's what we've had to work for. Since 2023, has it not been an overarching theme, having to separate, having to go our own way, having to find out who we even are and what we even want to do because we've forgotten and we need the open road to even bring the phantom limb back online, has been a theme of the day, has it not? So there's some beauty with the South Nodal eclipse having a beautiful trine between the North Nodal rulers, Venus and Mars. So it's a signature that we can be where we've paid it forward, now stepping into these newer, friendlier, deeper, more supportive, more creatively fulfilling, more spiritually fulfilling relationships, means of collaboration, means of earning money, and means of doing our work. Saturn, Pisces involved here is this deeper getting into it. Getting into, again, what we're holding, whether it be a facet of the truth that is unique, whether it be a creative gift, whether it be a sensitivity to the collective that we can't merely shake. And a lot of us are dealing with those sensitivities since the prior lunar eclipse in Pisces on top of Neptune. Saturn is balsamic to Neptune through 2025. It's going to be a huge, huge theme in 2025. What's real? What's not real? What should we be doing in the world? What's missing? What's the work that only I can do? Where have these pressures been misleading? Because oftentimes the things that are actually most meaningful are taken least seriously by our world. Where starving artists and starving musicians and poets are all cast to the side because it's a dog-eat-dog fight to survive. We're being forced to look at these very deep, mechanical procedures, expectations, obligations that are entrenched in our ancestry, that are entrenched in generation upon generation of a broken record. This solar eclipse on the south node is going to be a replaying of that broken record, so to evaluate, has this been fair? Has this been real? Or has this been projection? Has this been born of expectation, or has this been born of yielding to what is? Have we allowed ourselves to receive what we can receive in terms of support from others, or have we barred ourselves from receiving support in certain ways? This is about redemption. And now through the rest of 2024, very, very powerful theme of redemption. Pluto is going to station direct mid-October, the last degree of Capricorn. This anaretic degree is extremely powerful in the zodiac because it's where everything gets dialed up, builds up in intensity before it crushes down and transforms into something new. When Pluto slingshots back into Aquarius, November of this year, that's going to be the theme. October to November is like this last digging up of the trenches, experiencing the bureaucracies, experiencing the bullshit, the generational oppression, the racism, the misogyny, whatever it is. It's like a loaded spring that's just going to break and lift forward. And wherever you've been previously suppressed, wherever you've been previously limited, it's in exact relation to that suppression. This loaded spring dynamic is going to lift off. Someone asked about cusps in the recent Q&A. The cusp between Capricorn and Aquarius, where Pluto now sits and will transit. I believe it's November 12th or 13th. Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of evolutionary astrology, calls that cusp a grenade within a steel box. And all he has to say about that analogy is the grenade wins. The steel box seems like it's going to last forever. The steel box seems like it's locking us in like a prison until the grenade sets off. Now, because Venus is in Scorpio, we're looking at deeper unconscious motivations in our actions and in our means of relating. It's being exposed through close proximity, high-intensity experiences, which are illuminating our shadows, largely through the mirror of the other. This reviewing, this remembering all these old feelings, all these old people. And isn't it interesting how we become a different person when we're with a different person? And then you add or subtract another person from that group, and the overall nature of the group changes. Isn't that interesting? So is it therefore possible that we can lose parts of ourselves or overlook parts of ourselves if we spend a great amount of time in a close proximity relationship with one particular person? This is one of the most common pathologies in our given day and age, is just how acceptable of a relationship style that is, while striving to have no awareness of the deeper psychological suffering that can cause. When we love one another, we love each other for being who we are. We fell in love with that individual for being who they are. If they change, once they merge with you into becoming something they no longer are, do we love them anymore? So this is Venus in Scorpio. It is actual soul alchemy. And in a very objective, detached, kind of unrealistic, but I'm using this kind of as a silly example, if we were to see life like a video game, it's almost like our conflicts and our smashing into each other, our high-intensity experiences, as well as our soul merging through sexual connection, because Scorpio rules all biological sexual connection, which is a soul merging function. So Scorpio is where evolution happens, through one person's shadow and unconscious bumping up against another person's shadow and unconscious, and that creates a friction. So to make us aware of our blind spots. That's why we need to have relationships, and not just superficial relationships, real relationships that actually taps down all the way into who we are. It's also through this type of alchemical merging that we change, we evolve, not simply topically, not just little personality traits and quirks. Through the sexual soul merging function, we transform our soul. This is why Scorpio can also lead into some of the most dark and complex parts of life, such as when we deal with powers that thrust themselves on us, or where there's a forcible injection of someone or something into us that's not something we consented for. That's the absolute worst case scenario in Scorpio, but we're going to have to need to evaluate and reflect on that phenomenon, where and if that has happened, so that way we can find what is the necessary redeeming antidote. Okay, how and where do we get to high ground? What do we need to separate from? And also, in so doing, this is the same as holding a treasure chest to really preserve and honor what we love in our hearts. This is going to allow for a deepening between what we hold in our hearts and the right people. And I know some of you have been working since 2020, busting your asses, reinventing yourselves, trying to get these new jobs, these new things off into the world. This has been a long-term process that's going to really be completing, especially when Saturn begins a new cycle to Neptune at the very beginning of 2026 at 0 degrees Aries. Very, very, very powerful astrology going on these months and years. Pluto completing Capricorn is no lighthearted affair. This is again about confronting forces, authority figures, bureaucracies, just damn oppressive patterns coming from family, culture, society. And this is also going to bring us all the way back to 2008, which was the time when Pluto originally entered Capricorn. For those who are really deeply sensitive and aware souls, you may have even noticed that 2008 through the next couple of months has been cave-level spelunking of the collective shadow. And the real construction crew, the people that are here to really break down and shit out the old oppressive world and clear the slate for fertile ground to be laid to sow seeds for future generations, that has been the real work that we've been doing since 2008. And we can see what we may be birthing coming out of this whole transmutation period, and how many of us have been paying it forward. But boy, is that loaded spring going to really start lifting off the next couple of years. And as much as we have been breaking down, getting real with it, not running from our fears, but getting into those fears, we get to change those invisible things that have been controlling us throughout our entire lives. At first, it was what our parents taught us, teachers, priests and priests, whatever it may be, whatever that garbage dump is that needs to go, it's going to pop the cork to who we actually are, as well as a whole new stream of creative and pioneering genius that's going to want to start coming to the world through ourselves. So let's celebrate this eclipse. I'm going to get out of the rain here because it's starting to come down, but this is a collaborative, creative, relational, loving opportunity to connect with others on a same page. And I look forward to continuing to do the same through my community. Again, hope to see you this Saturday on the 28th. Otherwise, I'll be catching you in October. And as always, wishing you the very best. Please do take care. Stay high and dry. This eclipse squares asteroid Lucifer in Cancer. This type of emotional intensity, getting swept off our feet by emotions, suddenly regressing back into infantile states ourself, or grabbing onto other people because we are feeling overwhelmed. That's the worst case potential. The best case is Lucifer in Cancer is the maturity that can wade through anything, any hurricane. We can process this, we can digest this, and we can still create a safe space for ourselves. The world wants to throw everything at us. We can still create a safe space for ourselves. We've got no authority figures. We've got no fathers. We've got no role models. We can still create that for our own inner child inwardly through reparenting for ourselves. This is big, big stuff. So again, if you've got questions about any of this, I hope to see you on the 28th. Once again, for you and your beloveds, and as always, take care.